We are all born a blank page that is filled over time until no white space remains. But my story is not about what has been put down, rather what has been taken away. It's a miracle that I stand here before you, solid, alive, wrinkled, old, when so much of who I am is defined by absence. I would like to tell you about my grandparents, how they passed down stories of our family history so that I had a sense of who I was and where I came from. But I never met them. I fled my country when I was young. I would like to tell you about my father's farm and how he dreamed of a simple life living off the land. But he had to flee the country he loved, and with it, the dream. I would like to show you my parents' birthplace, but it is no longer there, or rather it has been moved. Countries are a jigsaw of movable parts. As quickly as they are assembled, they are dismantled. None stay still for very long. My parents were born in towns in Silesia, which was then part of Germany, but became part of Poland after the Second World War. And as long as there are wars, the kaleidoscope will keep shaking out new patterns. This is happening now in Yemen, Ukraine, Syria, Sudan, Ethiopia, Myanmar, and more places than I care to list. It's not just countries that get dismantled and reassembled. It happens to identity too. My parents were proud Germans, but on the 15th of September 1935, this aspect of their identity was annexed. They were no longer German. The Nuremberg race laws defined them as Jews. Jews had no political rights. Jews had their citizenship taken away. Jews were the inferior race. The law stated that a Jew and an Aryan were forbidden to marry. How could they do that? Tell you who to marry? Well, I am a Jew, and I married an Aryan I met in 1957. We are still together now, but that's a story for another time. My father wanted to grow the land, not divide it up into borders and boundaries. In 1929, he bought a plot of land in Estorf and began building a house, stable and barn. My parents married in 1930, and we followed soon after. My father trained others in agriculture so that they could move to Palestine and begin their own farms. He grew lives as well as vegetables, did my father, Lothar. But Hitler did not value the lives of Jews, and in 1936 they were forced to sell the family farm and leave the country of their birth. They moved to Austria. It was still independent, it was close by, and they spoke German. As we know from history, Austria wasn't a safe place for a Jew either. In March 1938, it was unified with Germany, and soon after, there was the inevitable knock on the door. "Come with us," said the officer, and off my father went. No time to say goodbye, no time to kiss his wife, no time to empty water out of the tractor. That was the 9th of November, 1938. Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. My mother awoke to find our windows smashed in and our pet dog dead. My father wrote soon afterwards and said, "Don't worry about me," and instructed my mother to empty the water out of the tractor. A good farmer would never leave water in a tractor over winter because it would freeze. We have no pictures of this time because we only take pictures in good times. I was too young to remember. So one day in 2008, I visited the farm. The owner was petrified that we might try and claim the land back, but I just wanted to trace my father's shadow, inhabit the space he once filled. It's an organic farm now. They lived the life he couldn't. Soon after my mother had lost her husband, she had to lose a child. But the Kindertransport scheme, which evacuated 10,000 children to Britain, would only take one child. We were three, my brother Peter and my twin Michael. I was selected because I was a girl, and a girl was easier to foster, or so I was told. So off I went, a few months before my 4th birthday, safe but alone. But that's another story. For 6 weeks, my father's home was Dachau. This was built in 1933 and was the prototype for concentration camps that would exterminate at least 6 million European Jews. Their lives erased, gassed, murdered, burnt. Yet my parents' letters to each other survived. My father was released after 6 weeks. Though 6 weeks was enough to kill anyone, it was long enough to destroy one of his kidneys. I asked him about it once, and he started to cry. Perhaps there simply aren't the words to explain such a thing. I didn't ask him again. Perhaps this is why I turned to art. I can visualize the dreams my parents were denied. I can bring the farm back to life and places on it. I cannot change history, but I can control what fills my canvas. The paintbrush can move freely and swish and swirl colours, and from the safe distance, I can think about my life. For years, I thought I was using red to symbolise danger. Now, I know it was blood. And as I lovingly blow glass in the kiln and feel the heat of the fire, I know it is to think about the millions of us who were burned or gassed to death. The glass in my hands is fragile and can shatter at any moment. And perhaps this is what gives my life solidity. It is only glass. It is not a life. And as I do my art, I remind myself every day, I am old. I am wrinkled. I am alive. I am a survivor. I survived. I have a story to tell, and it will be heard. But I want to bring you back to safety now. Go see your family. Take a photo together. Tickle each other and giggle. Hug them. Cook some food and argue about who is going to wash up. Let them know that they are loved, that they matter, that they exist.